Imagine waking up one day and no longer caring about money, success, or even your future. Not because you're depressed, not because you're lazy, but because something inside you has fundamentally shifted. You used to chase big dreams. Now, you just don't see the point. And you're not alone. This is happening to thousands right now. They call it a spiritual awakening. But what they don't tell you, what the gurus conveniently leave out, is what happens after the awakening. When the light fades, when the old you is gone, and nothing has replaced it yet. Some people call it freedom. Others call it a psychological crisis. And here's the strange part. Once you go through this shift, there's no going back. You can't unsee what you've seen. Your old goals are still available, but they're suddenly meaningless. So, what are you supposed to do? Get ready. We're set to uncover the strange silence that follows a spiritual awakening. This is the part no one talks about. The part that can leave you calm, but completely unmotivated. Stay with me until the end. You'll see why losing your motivation can be a good thing. It shows a deeper force that guides you to your true purpose. But first, let's rewind. Long before psychology existed, ancient mystics explored this area. Buddhists called it the dark night of the soul. Shamans called it ego death. Alchemists called it nigredo, the blackening. They all spoke of the same phase, when everything you thought mattered suddenly collapses. Carl Jung, Freud's top student who became a spiritual rebel, found these patterns in his own mind. But what he found wasn't just fascinating, it was disturbing. He saw that true awakening doesn't feel like bliss. It feels like losing everything you were. And that's where the story truly begins. Jung discovered something wild during his descent into the unconscious. He didn't just observe it clinically, he lived it. Locked in his house, he recorded visions of gods, demons, and strange voices for years. And out of that chaos, he noticed a recurring pattern. Awakening starts with a burst of insight, a flash of truth, a feeling of connectedness and meaning. But that doesn't last. Therefore, the initial euphoria gives way to something much harder to explain. A strange, weightless emptiness. A vacuum. A void. It's not depression. It's not burnout. And it's not even grief. It's like the engine of your entire life just shut down. Not with a crash, but with a whisper. And here's the part almost no one talks about. The ego you used to rely on. The voice that chased money, feared failure, and craved validation. That part of you dissolves during awakening. But that ego was also your fuel. It got you out of bed. It kept you running. It pushed you toward careers, partners, status. Without it, there's no clear reason to move. Therefore, people in this state describe a peculiar kind of paralysis. They're not in pain, they're not even sad. They're just still, waiting, floating, watching life go by like a movie they've already seen. And that can be terrifying, especially in a world that worships hustle and productivity. Because here's the twist. This void isn't the problem, it's the solution. Jung thought it was the psyche's way to reboot. It pushes you to let go of old values and allows something deeper to come forward. But our society has no idea what to do with this. Therefore, most people in this phase get misdiagnosed. They're told they have depression, they're handed pills, they're urged to set goals or find a new passion. But none of it lands because the old motivation system is gone. It's like trying to reboot an operating system using floppy disks from 1995. So what's really happening in the brain? Modern neuroscience shows us that during spiritual awakening, something radical happens. Your default mode network, the autopilot system that narrates your life, starts to quiet down. This means you stop compulsively judging yourself. You stop constantly thinking about your identity. And you stop feeling the need to be someone. Sounds peaceful, right? But it also means you lose the very mental loops that kept you driven. And with that silence comes confusion. If I don't need to prove anything anymore, why do anything at all? Therefore, the void becomes the waiting room of your soul, and this waiting can last for years. But here's the part no one tells you. The void isn't empty, it's just silent. And in that silence, something is quietly growing. Something that doesn't scream for attention or demand applause. A new kind of motivation. One that doesn't chase, but listens. Jung called this emergence the discovery of the self, a deeper identity that isn't defined by jobs, status, or achievements. It's the version of you that existed before the world told you who to be. So what comes after the void? You stop acting out of fear and start acting out of resonance. You're no longer driven by insecurity. You're pulled by purpose. You begin making choices not to get somewhere, but because they feel true. You work, but not to prove your worth. You love, but not to fill a void. You live, not to achieve, but to express. And slowly, life starts moving again. Not with the frantic pace of ego, but with the quiet momentum of something deeper. Those who emerge from the void describe it as rebirth. They say, I no longer need to be someone, I just am. I no longer fear missing out. I'm finally here. And perhaps most powerfully, I no longer need the world to understand me, because I understand me. That's why the sacred void isn't a detour, it's the path. And if you're still in it right now, floating in that strange space between your old life and your new one, here's what you need to hear. You're not broken, you're becoming. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of the real one. So trust the stillness, because what's waiting on the other side of the void isn't just motivation. It's your soul finally waking up. And now, I'd love to hear from you. If you feel stuck now, maybe you notice a heavy stillness, a lack of drive, or a strange calm after waking. Take a moment to share how that feels. What's been on your mind during this time? What have you discovered or are still trying to understand? Leave a comment below. Your experience might be the insight or comfort someone else is searching for. Let's hold space for each other, because even in the quiet, you are not alone.